about saving and understanding what it is we're saving for, how we're spending our money. So I'm hoping that today's session is really going to be of value to each of us. And I say us because as I go through some of this, I can see there were times and situations where, I might have been part of this same thing of not really understanding how I spent my money, how I felt about it, how I might have avoided some things. So it's important that we kind of look at this information and resonate it to our personal lives to the extent that we can, and use what we can from it to help make our financial and our future savings more fruitful. So today's topics are financial stressors, steps to reduce financial stress, achieving financial freedom, save for major milestones, have a checklist that we use at the end of the year and mid-year to see if we're on target. There are some figures we really need to hone in and know about in our personal financial growth, and how to build a financial future. How do we deal with sudden changes that are unexpected? And there are some things that we need to really focus on early in life so that it helps us guide how we plan and become financially fruitful in the future, ways to organize it, and how to calculate your net worth. So I'm hoping some of this, if not all of it, is going to resonate discussion and feedback and questions, because we like to make it as interactive as possible. What can hinder financial success? Financial stressors, financial burnout, and money avoidance. Well, we all know what financial stressors can be. Not being able to meet your basic needs, having too much debt, losing your job, unexplained expenses, or not being able to save money the way you hope. What is a burnout? When does financial stress become financial burnout? Well, when you become so exhausted and overwhelmed, you just don't know what to do. You detach, and you feel like you're not effective and you're not sure how to become more effective. And money avoidance is, procrastination. You get your bills and don't open them. You ignore your spending pattern. You don't look at your bank statements if you have a bank account. And then you just avoid having those challenging conversations about finances and how to get back on track. Steps to address this. Well, the first one is to be kind to yourself. Being kind to yourself is the best way to kind of help you cope with anything. If you beat yourself up, you're not really allowing yourself permission to acknowledge no one's perfect, and we all have challenges. And part of being an adult is knowing that there are going to be challenges throughout your life. So be kind to yourself. Establish a routine. Do something that's fulfilling. Some people walk, knit, ride your bike, whatever it is for you. Just find something that fulfills you personally and make it part of your self-care routine. Stay in the moment. Be grounded in the present. It's one thing to really put together a plan, for 12 months and 5 years and have, wonderful goals and try to track to them. But it's also important to stay in the moment because we only have today. We can't go back into yesterday and we can't propel ourselves into tomorrow. So staying in the moment allows you to understand that you're making small steps, small progress, because that's what it takes. So stay in the moment. Abandon the perfect in favor of the good. So, everyone believes in our alter ego that we should have some level of perfection. Well, not really, because we can never be perfect, but we can be good. So if we think about small, achievable financial goals, it'll help us build towards those larger things that we want to get done. But it takes small pieces, small steps to help make sure that we reduce our financial stress or we avoid financial stress. And then talk to someone. No one is an island. We all need someone. And sometimes talking can relieve stress and expand your perspective. So find someone you trust and have a conversation. It doesn't necessarily have to be personalized. It can just be general financial information to help broaden your perspective and relieve some of the tension that you may be feeling. Start the new year off right, achieving financial freedom. So it's important to set goals. So 12-month goals and maybe long-term goals. So a 12-month goal, you want to pay off a $2,000 credit card bill. A long-term goal is in 10 years or 5 years, you want to have enough money saved to buy a house. Analyze your spending. Track your spending monthly to free up cash. So if you have a journal where you can actually track your spending every month to make sure you're understanding how your money is being spent, you can actually see and understand where you can free up money and where you can go put money aside to help towards your financial goals. Create a realistic budget. 50% should be on what you need, your rent, your utilities, your insurance, 30% on your debt, your credit card, your car, 20% on discretionary expenses. So if you kind of use this formula or look at this formula to see if you're spending along those needs, that's a good way to create your budget so that you can know what money is coming in and how you're spending it, and then how you can figure out what to save from that. Get out of debt. Creating a debt repayment plan is really, really important. Credit card debt is what they call bad debt. It's essential sometimes, but it's still bad debt. So you want to be able to come up with a plan that is going to allow you to pay off your credit cards. And it would be good to say, well, which one has the highest interest rate, and focus on them in that order so that you can get out of debt. Slash your bills. So these are just examples. So now that streaming services are so popular, do you really look at your cable bill and see whether or not there's room to take some of the programs off of it? Do you have subscriptions that you currently get that you no longer use? Is there another phone carrier that will give you the same service but for a cheaper cost? And try to shop around for your insurance rates. Make sure that you're getting the best rate and don't compromise your service or your coverage for a rate, but try to find the best rate for the best coverage. And if you increase your income, so if you have a hobby or you have something that you can do to make a little extra money, or when you get your tax money, or if you get bonuses, use that to do two things: pay off your debt and put some aside for your long-term savings. Save for major milestones. So it's important, and you'll see that there's a theme when it comes to future savings. And part of that theme is setting goals and developing a plan. We say that it's easy, but it's not that easy to really do and then live by it, because we live day by day sometimes and things happen and we can very easily get off track. So it's important, if you do set a goal and then develop a plan, that you really try to monitor and live according to those two items. And then start investing. Well, there are all kinds of ways to invest. And you need to make sure that you do something that is, comparable to what your risk level is, comparable to where your savings goals are, and comparable to your timeline. So one of the easiest ways to think about saving or investing is savings bonds. You can get them for like $25 and they have a face value of 50 and you keep them forever. And you buy them in your children's name. And it's a way of creating generational wealth. And it's a way of you doing investing. And then as you develop more, you can think about CDs, you can think about stock. But when you get to that level where you really want to think about stock, talk to someone that can give you some guidance. And then last but not least, take advantage of tax benefits. So you want to make sure that if you come up with a savings tool like a CD or a savings bond or even stock, that you talk to your tax professional to make sure that you can see which one of those are going to give you the greatest tax benefit. College funds for children, there might be some tax benefit to that. So you want to kind of think about it and then present it to someone that you can talk to make sure that in addition to saving, you're going to get a benefit in your tax. Year-end financial check. So they advise us to get control of our spending. So prioritize your spending around your goals. That's important. And then if you remember in our first series, we talked about paying yourself first. So those are really important in terms of developing a plan and sticking to a goal. Making sure that you prioritize your spending. Do I really need a new pocketbook this year? Do I really need this? Can I just put that money aside to do something that's really going to help me with my long-term goal of a new car or something of that nature? Create a cybersecurity plan to protect your finances. So a lot of people think, well, what does that mean? Well, you have to protect your finances and your identity from cyber fraud. And it's rampant. We don't think of it, but it is rampant. And one of the ways is our computer. Everything comes to us through our computer now. So you want to make sure that your computer has a strong firewall, and that when you get those little updates to say update your operating system or update this patch, you want to make sure that you do that, because those are things that are continuously building protection around the data and the system that's using your data. Top off your 401k or IRA. Try to make sure, if you can, that you're maxing out your contribution to your employer's 401k. And if your employer doesn't have a 401k, talk to someone to see how you can set up an IRA so that you can continually save in that matter. And sometimes if you put money in, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but you put enough money into a method or a vehicle that's a little harder for you to pull out, you know that money is still going to be there for you. So you don't put it all, but if you put money in a CD and let it run its term, that's money that's going to build assets, because it's going to build based on, it's staying with the financial provider for a certain term. And it's going to be money that's saved, because you can't go get it unless you're willing to pay a penalty and a fee. So just think about how you can, make sure you're doing the maximum that you can if you have an employer 401k, and then look at other ways that you can save for yourself if that's not an option for you. Now, most people don't think about looking at their insurance plan, especially their homeowner's insurance, as the value of their home increases. So, we like to believe, and in a good market, home values do increase. So you want to make sure that you talk to your home insurance carrier and ask them to review your policy with you to make sure that you're getting extra coverage as the value in your home increases. It's really important. It might cost an extra couple of dollars, But when you think about the protection that you're putting around your home, which is your biggest purchase, it makes it worthwhile. And if you have a flexible spending account, so sometimes employers offer flexible spending accounts, and these are accounts that are tied to you putting money away to spend down for medical and sometimes childcare. And you want to make sure if you use those types of vehicles that you're spending it down all the way. Because in most instances, if you leave money in there, the employer can't reimburse you. So you've just wasted money. So it's important, if you have a flexible spending account, to know how much you're putting in it, how much you intend to use, and make sure you spend it all down before that year is up. And recalculate your withholdings. It's important because the IRS is always changing tax laws. And we don't find out about the change until we're actually doing our taxes. And then by that time, it can be a little late. So you want to check with your tax person, around the middle of the year, to see if there are any tax laws that are changing that can have a negative impact. And if there are, ask how to make those adjustments in your withholding to make sure you don't owe anyone any money, and that you're getting the best benefit in terms of how you're paying for your taxes. Mid-year checkup. So this is important because you want to make sure that you also not just wait till the end of the year, but in the middle of the year, you want to do a check on what your goals were, how you're spending, is your budget working? So, it's a perfect time. And then you can check to say, well, I have this budget that I put into place, and it included me saving, say, 2% of my money every pay period. Well, am I doing that? Is that really working for me? So you want to make sure that you're checking your budget to make sure that you're still meeting the goals that you intended to meet. Are you maximizing your 401k contribution? Holidays, they come and sneak up on us, but mid-year we should be thinking about, well, what am I going to do for the holidays? Do I have a vacation plan? Are there things that I want to buy for the family? Start thinking about that, so that if the savings that you were putting away doesn't allow for you to compensate for things you want to do for the holidays, you might be able to save a little bit more, so that all of your savings at the end of the year isn't being spent on the holidays. And performance review time. So that's a great time to, open a discussion with your employer about salary. If there aren't any automatic raises or there aren't any merit increases, it's a good time to have a discussion on, what can I do to increase my salary? Is there another job? Just have a healthy discussion around salary around the time of performance reviews. And then finally, adjust your goals if you have to. So if you see that your budget, initially you wanted to make sure you were saving 2%, but something happened along the way and you only are saving 1%, then recalculate your budget to make sure that you can stay on track for at least that 1% or 1.5% for the balance of the year. And make sure you acknowledge where the extra money was going, so that you know how you're spending every dollar every time, because that's how you're going to make sure that you meet your financial goals. 8 essential financial figures you should know. Now, we talked about some of this. We've spent a lot of time talking about the credit score. So knowing your credit score is essential. Your monthly expenses. We just talked about knowing what you need to cover every month is important. Your monthly income. So, if you're hourly or salary, if you're hourly and there's overtime, you have an idea of, how much overtime you might be able to do based on what you might have done earlier in the year. So knowing what your income is essential. Now, your cash flow is really looking at your expenses and your income. And if you're not spending as much as as much as you're earning, then you have a positive cash flow at the end of the month. If you're spending more than you earn, then you have a negative cash flow at the end of the month. So the goal is to always try to have a positive cash flow at the end of the month. And then your debt balance. How much do you owe? Keep track of how much you owe so that you can know when you put together your plan for getting out of debt. If you had to, use your money or use a card unexpectedly, make sure that gets factored into your debt plan so that you can make sure you factor in that you had some unexpected expenses that you now have to account for. And then your net worth. This is really an important calculation, and we have a formula that I'm going to give you an example on a little later in the presentation. But you add up your values of your assets. So, your home, your car, collectibles. Some people collect art, some people collect other coins, stamps, other things. Anything that has a value is considered an asset. And then you subtract your debt, and that includes your home, any balance on your home, any balance on your auto, your credit cards, of course. And then the difference between those two are your net worth. And then what is your savings rate? So, if we have the opportunity to save money, and we know that it's like 2 to 5% of our monthly expenses, our monthly income, I'm sorry, then that's your savings rate. So you want to make sure that you understand what you're capable of saving so that you don't lose sight of saving. And then retirement contributions. So if you don't have the ability to do it through a 401k, then talk to an advisor to see how you can set up your own IRA or CDs or something that will allow you to begin to invest in your future retirement. I mean, a lot of people believe Social Security, because we're paying into it, that it's going to be the nest egg, but I can tell you that it may not be. So it's really, really important that we take it very seriously and try to invest in saving for our retirement. Whether you retire or not, you want to have money put away. Tips to build your financial future. Well, we just talked about spending less than you earn. That's really important. Analyze how you spend for 6 months. So look at what you spend on housing, what you spend on transportation, what you spend on healthcare, what you spend on food, insurance, pensions, apparel, services, charitable giving, entertainment, and miscellaneous personal. If you put a budget together with those items and you track how you're spending, that's going to give you a really good insight on where your money goes and then where you have flexibility to make adjustments. Then they say compare your spending results with the national average. So there's a Bureau of Labor and Statistics where you can say, well, I'm a teacher and this is what I earn and this is what I spend. Am I in line with the national average? And it will tell you whether you are or not. Know your credit rating. Can't stress that enough. And create short-term goals within the next 6 months or the next 12 months. I want to get rid of this debt, or I want to save this amount of money, and create a safety net. You really, if you can, it is really important. If it's nothing but $1 a week or $1 a day, 50 cents a day, put some money away for a safety net. Build assets that generate cash flow every month. So your savings, a CD, those create assets because you get interest on it. So you want a high interest or high yielding savings account that will allow you to earn interest on what you put away. Understand the difference between good and bad debt. Well, bad debt is credit card or retail cards. Review your expenses periodically, and then invest in your learning. Read articles, go to seminars, join clubs that can all tell you about financial education and how to grow your money and become financially wealthy. Handling sudden life changes. Well, we know, all of us know, that we've all experienced those sudden life changes that we didn't anticipate. And then there are sometimes we anticipate or expect a life change that we have to plan for. And it's important how we cope with those. Sometimes they can completely derail us and we can just, lose sight of everything that we've tried to do because we're trying to cope with a crisis, or we're trying to cope with something that was devastating, or we're trying to plan and we couldn't plan for it. So managing your emotions is really a key to handling sudden life changes. You got to be honest with yourself and acknowledge your emotions, but you also have to try to manage them. And then remove yourself from the situation or the problem from your immediate environment. So if you know that, you're going through something and there's a person or a situation that is just not contributing to you handling it in a positive way, just kind of step back from it for a minute so that you can have clear focus on how you need to deal with the situation. And don't feel pressure to react. Sometimes we can get overwhelmed and feel that, we need to do something and we need to do it right away and right now. Sometimes when you feel yourself thinking like that, just slow down for a minute and take your time, because you don't want to make hasty decisions. You want to make good, sound decisions. And focus on what could be. What do you want? Where do you want to go now as a result of this situation that has occurred? How does this change your life perspective or your view or your goals? And connect with your support network, someone you trust. I mean, it's all of us, I know, have to or have some support network that we use when things just seem like they're out of control, or we just need to have someone or some group that we can talk to. And then create a plan. Know the steps you have to take. So, God forbid if it's burying a loved one, know some of the steps that you have to take to go through that process as you begin to deal with grief, because having a plan helps you cope with the grief that you're feeling. Know what you need. Things you will working toward primarily. So if you know you're going to need something, and it's happening at a time when it's unexpected, focus on what you need so that you can create the plan to make sure that happens. And then consider what this unexpected life change has done to your long-term and future life plan. Does it mean you need to go back and adjust something because something hasn't changed? Does it mean you need to look at your beneficiaries on a life insurance? Does it mean that you have to think about buying a home sooner because you're expecting a child or you're getting married? So these are all changing situations in our life that can have an impact on our goals. And what time limits and resources do we need? So you got to understand, I think for me, it's important to understand what are my limitations and then what actions can I actually take. Um, it's really important that we holistically understand ourselves, our emotional self, and then our ability to cope with change, whether it's good change or bad change, and how it impacts our future goals, our immediate goals, and how we stay healthy in the moment so that we don't get derailed, but we learn how to use these skills and these tips to kind of help manage us through. Early start on 4 life lessons. Well, housing is one. So you want to make sure that you understand where you want to live as you age. The other one is out of pocket expenses. So, if you think you might need dentures or you might need something else that is more long term, you want to try, or a new roof on your house, you want to try to start planning for some of those. And then, what do you want to do in terms of your leisure life? So, are you a person that's looking forward to traveling as you age when you retire? So, if it is, then you might want to say, well, I need to start saving money because when I get to a certain age, I want to travel more. But if you're not saving or you don't have a plan in place that allows you to do that, it makes it more challenging for that to be achieved. And then your final wishes. So consider burial insurance. If you get it as you're young, you get it inexpensively, and then it lasts you and it's there for when you need it because it can grow if it's a certain type of policy. So these are the 4 things that you need to really make sure you have some sense of, um, in terms of life lessons. And how do you organize your finances? Well, it's easy if you can buy a 10 pocket expandable folder and you put your receipts and your bills, and these folders, because then it allows you to go back and check and see how you actually spend it. Your bank statements can go in there. This is a way to kind of structure and organize and file your financial spending. Pare down your cards. You don't need that. You don't need a credit card for every store. So less is more when it comes to credit and retail cards. Use direct deposit. Some employers mandate that it's the only way that they will pay you is through direct deposit. The benefit of it is your money is there right away, and you don't have to wait 2 or 3 days before it gets to your account. And then I do this, schedule your pay dates. So in my calendar, every 2 weeks, I get a reminder, yep, it's payday. And so it just kind of helps me focus on what I need to do around that particular pay period. And then set up your bills to be paid online. It's a safe way to making sure that your bills get paid on time. And nowadays, banks will even send you a reminder if you set it up in your account or your online banking, that they'll send you a reminder, oh, this bill is due on the 2nd, as a way to try to make sure that you stay on track if you're not doing the direct pay to the creditor. How to calculate your net worth. So your assets are in 3 categories. Your physical property, what we talked about, your home, your car, your collectibles, coin collections, stamp collections, art collections. cash, the money in the wallet and the money in the bank, and liquid assets. So stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, and then your net liabilities, any debt or money that you owe others. So now what's the formula for your net worth? So say you have a home that's worth $100,000, a car worth $20,000, and $10,000 in the bank. Well, when you add all that up, you have $130,000 in assets. Now, you owe $80,000 on your mortgage. You still owe $10,000 on your car, and you have about $5,000 in credit card debt. So now when you add that up, it comes to $95,000. So your net worth is you subtract your liabilities, the $95,000, from your assets, the $130,000, and your net worth is $35,000. And it's important that you kind of go through this exercise with yourself, because this is different from your cash flow. This is actually saying this is your worth. This is your financial net worth. And knowing that number and then wanting to make sure that you grow that number will also impact how you save and what you develop as your future plans, both short-term and long-term. So this is one of those, these are some additional things that are on the Enrich platform. And I apologize, I forgot to put the link in here, but I'll send it to Al Tariq and he can post it. And these are some of the additional videos and articles about financial and future savings. So one of the things is become a millionaire by investing in yourself. That's a very interesting one. And then, hey, grads, learn how to prepare yourself financially for the real world. And then they have financial wisdom from famous people like Bob Marley, Serena Williams, Oprah, Nelson Mandela, Mae Jemison, Steve Jobs. And they have a series on retirement. And then they have training courses on financial stress. And again, this is a free service. It doesn't cost you anything to sign up for this service. And you don't have to do it all in one day. You can go back to it whenever you have 5 or 10 minutes. Most of the videos are like 1 or 2 minutes, but it's really, really good information that you can use to help track your financial goals. And then they give you articles on, well, you're not quite here. You might want to change this or consider that. So it really is a tool that can really help you. And I hope you have a moment where you can take the time and look into this. And again, I'll make sure that I send that link out. I usually try to make sure it's on this page, and I forgot to put it here tonight, but I'll make sure you have it. So I want to thank you, and I hope that there are some comments or questions that I can answer for you.
Well, definitely. Thank you again. Tawana, how was it tonight? Any questions, any thoughts, comments?
Yes, absolutely. I do have tonight comments, a couple of comments. First, when you were talking about planning your final wishes, that's very important, and that's right now is really what I'm going through, because this year I've lost a couple of family members back to back, and basically within a couple of months, my aunt and then her daughter. So,
oh my.
Yes. And not only, we're planning your final wishes, can be a peace of mind for you, but your family members as well.
Yes.
is very
Yes,
important.
it is.
And another thing was how to calculate your personal net worth. That was very, very informative, because sometimes until you put it on paper, you're not, sure, you're not aware of where you are. And so, looking at that, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I ain't worth nothing right now. Hold up. I need to make some changes. But watch out, because I'm going to be worth something. You just
Well,
wait.
you are worth something. You just gonna make sure your financial worth is where you want it to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. And my deepest sympathy to the loss, because
Thank
loss is never easy. Especially it's just never easy.
you. Right.
And so, having to cope with just the tragedy, and then the planning and the
Mhm.
finances and all the stuff that comes with
Yes.
it, just, it's like a tsunami. You just get hit with a
Yes.
tsunami that can just
Exactly.
tilt you in a way that you
Exactly.
try to get right centered again, and it takes its time. So,
Mhm.
my deepest condolences to you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you.
And right on with the net worth.
Yes. Yes.
I'm telling you, when I saw that, when I was doing it, I said, "Let me wait a minute. Let me get my pencil and paper."
Right. Right.
you know but and the beauty of me going through this and sharing this with all of you is that it opens my eyes as well,
Mhm. Absolutely.
because all of us, I don't care who you are, I
Mhm.
don't care what walk of life you're in,
Mhm.
all of us have times when we feel financial stress. And
Mhm.
I know for me, the first thing I would do is avoid it.
Right.
So I
Right.
like to let that bill sit over there for a minute.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, but it's important that we acknowledge and understand what we can do to keep ourselves healthy and sane as we try to grow our money.
Yes.
And pay yourself first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm learning to do that. I'm learning to do that.
Yes, yes, it's important. I'll tell you this funny little story. So, I used to commute from where I lived to Newark. It was about an hour and a half. And I used to do that all the time. So, I was one of those people who was a little slow on Easy Pass. So I
Mhm.
had lots of change in
Okay.
my in my in my car. I
Okay.
mean, like tons and tons of change that you would just stick in the little glove compartment or stick somewhere.
Right.
So one day I decided to pull all this change out of my car to actually see what was there, right? Because
Mhm.
I wasn't paying it any attention. So
Right.
I made it a job
Mhm.
for a couple of my grandkids
Mhm.
to count the money.
Oh, okay.
And if they counted the money, depending on how much it was,
Mhm.
they could get a little bit of it.
Okay.
And it was uncanny to me that I was driving around with $300 in
Wow.
change,
And change.
in my car
Wow.
and didn't know it.
Wow.
So that's what I mean about, we all have these little idiosyncrasies and bad behaviors
Yes.
that
Yes. Yes.
aren't making us focus on
Mhm.
all of our money.
Absolutely.
So that's when I went and got Easy Pass.
Okay. Okay. And another thing, when you were talking about the savings bonds and CDs,
Hmm.
and when you were saying how you can open one for you can start one for as little as $25.
Hmm.
And if you think like, this is my way of thinking. For some people, $25 may sound like a lot, but how many times out of the week you're stopping and buying fast food, or you're picking up something that you could say, you know what, if you prioritize your time and plan your meals out for the week, and then
Hmm.
instead of spending that $25 in a restaurant, there go your $25 savings bond right there.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's such an important point. Prioritizing and planning. I mean, it's essential.
Yeah.
It's essential. And that's like an excellent point of view, because that money, I mean, it costs $5 for a cup of coffee.
Right. Right.
you
Right.
buy you buy a cup of coffee every day. That's $25 right there.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
and they have cups now where you can make your coffee at home and put it in the cup and say it's just as
Yes.
good, not better.
Right.
So that's an excellent point. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Where'd Altruise
Did
go?
he leave?
Oh, no,
Oh.
There
I'm
he
here.
is.
Yeah, you guys continue your engagement, and that's important, and that's what makes this such a great platform. Because after any great opportunity to get some information, we want to recap that. We want to brain dump on that, and I thank you for being that type of instructive information, and also Tawana for taking those notes and bringing
Yes,
those questions, because people are watching, but sometimes we don't step out there, and leadership does move without question. So thank you for that as well.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so as
That
we have,
sometimes this is the best part of the day is when Tawanda gives us her comments and questions.
Thank you.
well, yeah, like you said, it became part of the programming, and me, I'm aimed to organize and bring us together, because that's what's going on when we talk about change, bringing us together. And I'm, like I said, always grateful to having our sponsorship of the Parents Engaging Parents, grassroots of leadership, real and powerful council that really helps us put together a lot of this work. And we also want to make awareness to thanking consistently Industrials Bank, and the time and energy Karen puts together, because let's be clear, to spend an hour here, we have to put in the energy of understanding. 2 to 3 hours goes in the presentation. So that's a thorough commitment, and we thank for that type of service. And that's why we continue to ask the support, because it takes leaders like this to get the message across. And we thank her for that, and the energy of Industrials Banks puts behind this series of information. And we
Thank
also
you.
want you to take a time to look at our pages to see the upcoming coat giveaways. We've already given out close to 2,000 coats across New Jersey. We
Nice.
have a couple more locations and spots that we want to visit: Passaic, Patterson. Just did Jersey City this past weekend. We're going to be in Orange, New Jersey, and we're going to be in East Orange, New Jersey, over this weekend. So looking forward to seeing parents. And once again, tap into what we're doing. Understand that the information is no longer hidden, and we could take advantage of it. And I continuously have to thank the councilwoman in Camden for recognizing the work of Parents Engaging Parents, and the city of Camden by giving us a certificate of recognition by the city council and the city of Camden. So thank you, Councilwoman Boucher, for seeing leadership, and once again speaking to the audience of your constituents, and to recognizing we don't look for recommendations, we don't look for awards, but we do look for leaders, and you are one of them. And thank you for anyone and always everyone who donates to Parents Engaging Parents, the work that we do with our communities and with the leaders and organizations that we partner with to put on presentations like this, and opportunities to give out coats and workshops and retreats. And the continuous outreach of information comes from your consistent donation and time and energy of investment. So thank you again. And we look forward to seeing, unfortunately, the last programming until we regroup after the new year and come back with a possible in-person opportunity for us to sit down and really break bread as we continue to get this information. You already know, Tawana, we put on a good chat and shoot. I ain't gonna get it twisted. We have no problem putting together something, the hot lucky right up in there, and have a presentation of opportunities. So we look forward and have our the 2024. We will be having Karen come through when we do have our parent retreat of information and understanding, because once again, we do have to get together to be together. So good night, everybody, and thank you
Good
again.
night. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.